Welcome to my channel. If you are here, chances are you're already fasting or considering it as part of your weight loss tool. When I turned 40, I noticed that it was harder and harder to maintain and lose weight. After struggling with low calorie, low carb, low energy, low fun, low results, I decided that I wanted to try out fasting. And it has definitely worked for me. However, there was a fair amount of trial and error before I got fasting right, and I definitely found that I made some pretty brutal mistakes that unraveled my fasting journey. So today I'm going to share the 4 mistakes that I made, so hopefully you won't make these too. So first off, mistake number 1, not hydrating effectively during the fast. You'll already know to drink water. It's a given. There is a whole industry out there that is making millions and billions of dollars selling you bottled water, all in the idea that everybody needs to drink a lot of water. But I have discovered that as women, and especially as we hit our 40s, hormone shifts can impact our electrolyte balance. If you're only drinking plain water, you can be flushing out essential minerals like sodium, potassium, and magnesium. This often leads to headaches, dizziness, fatigue, and while you're fasting, that general fasting flu feeling. And when you feel like crap, I don't know about you, but I do not want to keep going, and it makes it harder and harder for me to stick to my plan. After really screwing this up a couple of times, particularly when I was fasting over 18 hours, I dug a bit deeper into what was going on with me that was making me feel really yuck during my fast. And even at 16 hours, which wasn't a huge long fast, I was still feeling rubbish. One of my first longer fasts, I found myself at work with that really sore head feeling, and I could feel and see those lights. I get sort of these lights beside my eyes and my peripheral vision that warns me that I could be in for a bit of a migraine. I'm not someone who gets a lot of headaches, but it was definitely a bit of a wake up. So I went outside and I took some Panadol just to try and get ahead of it. But unfortunately, these signs did not disappear. So I decided to go home and work from home for a bit where I wasn't under those fluorescent lights that you get in the office. I ended up having to have more ibuprofen and actually halting my fast because I was feeling really unwell. I'd had a goal that day that I was going to do 25 hours, and I'd only made just under 20, which felt a little bit like failing. And yes, I know, under 20 hours or 19 hours is still a good long fast. I had not completely ruined it. It was just my mind playing tricks on me, kind of like that little voice in my head that when I've eaten a little bit of bad food, I'm like, oh well, I might as well just eat all the bad food because I've already started. I did a bit more reading about fasting and headaches, and I discovered that I shouldn't have just been drinking plain water. I needed electrolytes. I overcame my headache that day almost as soon as I'd broken my fast, and I realized that it was because I'd broken my fast with boiled eggs with salt, because I love salt. And in fact, salt is an electrolyte, which had actually given me the minerals that my body was begging for without me even realizing. So the fix: don't just drink plain water, drink electrolytes. I do a pinch of good quality salt in a sort of half glass of warm water, mix it up, make sure it's dissolved. And if I'm fasting over 16 hours, I make sure I have this twice. If it's a longer fast, I'll have it as many times as I think I need to make sure that I stay on top of it. There are a lot of electrolyte supplements out there. I try not to have many of these because I quite like the ones that have artificial sweetener in them because they taste good, but they do kind of trigger me to feel hungry afterwards and get that sweet craving. There's something about the artificial sugars that makes me more hungry. So I'll only really have one of those if I'm feeling desperate and that it's going to actually tip me through the fast for longer. I also am very careful to make sure it's a no sugar one and as low calories as possible. I have recently bought electrolytes that are calorie free and flavour free, which I'm going to try soon, so that might be another option for me. I also have black coffee because I love coffee. I don't have any sugar in it, obviously no milk. You could have black tea as well, but I have the coffee for the caffeine. I only have 3 a day, and I really try hard to have that last one before or just sort of around 1 o'clock so that I'm not too far at the end of the day. I do know though that when I have coffee I need to drink more water because it can dehydrate you, so that's another way that you can end up feeling a bit miserable. Don't use coffee as a fluid replacement. Okay, so mistake number 2, and this is very common, this is where many a fast gets derailed. This is overcompensating during your eating window. I can tell you that the accomplishment that you feel after doing a fast, whether it's 16 hours, 18 hours, 20 hours, 36 hours, or 40 hours, is great. You feel the win, you're hungry. I know for me, usually a couple of hours before my fast is due to end, I'm starting to think about food, feeling excited because I've done it and I've achieved something, and also I get to eat. Unfortunately, you can get carried away with the eating. You can see your kids having some chocolate brownie and you're thinking, oh, I'm allowed to eat in 30 minutes. I'm definitely having a piece of that. I deserve it. The trap is thinking, I've fasted, so I can eat anything. Now, there are some people who do promote this. They will use fasting to stay on top of their weight gain because they want to eat whatever they want. That is your choice. I want to use fasting for not only staying on top of weight loss and maintaining the weight that I feel happy at, I also want to use it for feeling good. So for me, going straight into unhealthy foods after a fast is not going to make me feel great. You can also gain weight even when you're fasting. If you eat a whole lot of calories after your fast and consume foods that are really high in calories, you can end up overcompensating and eating more than what you realise, and more than what you would have done if you'd just eaten normally that day. I fell into this trap multiple times early on in fasting. I was so hung up on the fact that I'd fasted and I felt like I'd lost weight that I didn't really have a plan for when the fast ended. I would start off quite well with eating boiled eggs, which I still do now because I love them, but then I didn't plan out what was going to be the next food that I ate and when I was going to eat it. So while now I'll have boiled eggs and then maybe miso soup a little bit later with maybe some greens powder depending on how long I've been fasting for, then my dinner, which is lean protein, salad, carbs, fats, all healthy foods but a good combination. When I first started, I didn't have that structured that well. I would have the good quality eggs, I'd usually have quite a good snack a wee bit later, and I'd have dinner, which wasn't too bad, but I also wouldn't think about it too much. But the real threat for me was later on. After fasting for a while and then eating and feeling full, it is quite easy for me to fall into the trap of continuing to eat because it just feels so good. And in my household, with a 5 and 7-year-old and a husband who gets up at 3:45 in the morning, everyone is in bed far earlier than I am. And I am vulnerable to the sweet tooth. So early on when I was fasting, I'd eat my good snack, I'd eat my still good snack after that, and then I'd eat my quite good dinner. But then when everyone had gone, I'd be like, oh, I could just have one little sweet thing to finish off. And so then I'd eat that sweet thing, and then I'd get into this mindset of, oh well, I could have more, I've fasted, it's fine, and then it's, oh well, I've already eaten some now, which was a very negative mindset, and it wasn't helping me with my fasting. So I came up with some better tricks. One of them was to have a set plan after the fast. So I had a set snack, a set second snack, a set dinner. I knew what these things were going to be. I didn't wing it, I had a plan. I also decided to include a sweet treat for the end of the night so that I wasn't feeling like I was deprived and I wasn't diving headfirst into the pantry. I knew that I wanted this to be something that I didn't feel bad about too, because sometimes eating something that I think is maybe really unhealthy after a fast can make me feel a bit rubbish because the sugar does something and gives me a bit of a headache. but also it just makes me feel like I'm not making the right decisions, particularly if I've done a long fast. It feels like I'm undoing some of that good. So I sometimes would have a raw slice, so a raw sweet slice, so it would be no refined sugars and it would have fats and stuff in it. And the one that I loved was a Snickers equivalent, which I actually ended up making myself. So now I have my own Snickers equivalent that is a raw food slice that I feel okay about, and keep it in the freezer for snacks. Because I can tell you, these raw food slices are expensive. So saving money too. The other sweet snack that I came up with was Greek unsweetened yogurt with a scoop of protein powder mixed in, and I'd usually have a low carb, low sugar protein powder, and then I'd sprinkle a little bit of keto granola on the top just for the crunch, and that is a favourite snack as well. So to make sure that you don't overeat on your fast, the fix is to remember that fasting is not permission for a free-for-all. Focus on nutrient-dense whole foods after your fast. Prioritise protein, healthy fats and fibre. So I would think about lean meats, fish, eggs obviously, avocados, nuts, seeds and plenty of starchy vegetables. Try and listen to your hunger cues. If you can space out your snacks after your fast, you're more likely to be in tune with your body and when it's actually hungry. I also recommend breaking the fast gently. So that's why I have the eggs with salt and pepper after my fast. It's just a wee snack that has got lots of protein and fat in it, but it's not a big shock to the system. It's not a big meal. Right, mistake number 3, which I did as well, jumping in too hard, too fast. I totally get it. You're motivated, you want to get into it. You've seen people have results, you want to get started yesterday, but going from never fasting to I'm going to do a 24-hour fast can lead to burnout, intense hunger, and possibly a negative relationship with food. Our bodies, especially over 40, need time to adapt. And as women, hormone changes do make us a little bit more sensitive to intense changes. Again, this video is about mistakes I have made, and I made this mistake. I'd be all gung-ho because the scales were telling me something that I didn't like. You know the drill. Tomorrow I'm going to nail this fasting. I'm going to fast the whole day, and my body will turn into a fat burning machine, even though I never tried it before. Then what inevitably happened is that I would be starving, I'd be thinking about not eating the whole day, I'd be talking to people about how I wasn't eating, they'd be telling me how negative that was and how bad for me it was and I should just eat. And then by lunchtime I was eating. This actually held me back for quite some time. I was so determined that I wanted to utilise fasting as weight loss and feeling better that I kept giving it a nudge. I have to say, even my first 40-hour fast was probably a little bit dicey. I probably needed to do a couple more 20-hour fasts and a dozen or so 36-hour fasts after that before doing the 40-hour fast. But I did learn from that, and I did pull my neck in a little bit and do some more building up of fasting before I tried doing a 40-hour fast again. But even before I did do the 40-hour fast, I had been fasting for quite a long time, even if it was less in terms of duration. I'd started with skipping breakfast, and then skipping lunch, and then going for 20 hours on a pretty regular basis for about 6 months before I did my first 36-hour fast. But when I first tried to get into that 1 meal a day fasting idea, I was a miserable failure because I tried too hard, too fast, and I ended up A, not making it, and B, overeating. So the fix is to start slow and build up. Begin with a 12-hour overnight fast. You can do this by essentially skipping any late night snacks or finishing dinner a little bit early. Then try 14-10, where you go fasting for 14 hours and you have a 10-hour eating window. Gradually work your way up to 16-8, which is fasting for 16 hours and eating for 8, which is pretty popular and a sustainable model for most people. Listen to your body. If you feel drained, pull it back. Consistency is going to win over intensity for weight loss, particularly if you want to be able to maintain it. I would go with the fast that fits the best and the easiest with your lifestyle. If you are maintaining or losing weight in a 12-hour fast, then just keep doing a 12-hour fast. Don't push for a 40-hour fast if you're getting results and feel good, unless you actually want to. I do really like the elements of the longer fasts. I really like ketosis, where I feel a burst of energy at around 18 hours, and the autophagy, where the body is apparently detoxing, just really appeals. And I do find that for me, the weight loss does kick in when I'm incorporating these into my weekly routine. Again, with all of these recommendations, this is based on my own personal experience and weight loss using fasting. I'm not a doctor. I'm just sharing what personally worked for me. And if you want to keep hearing about my experience and what I'm finding is really working for me in my 40s, after years of trying all the workouts, all the diets, all the things, then make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. So now we go to mistake number 4, which is ignoring your body's signals that are telling you to stop. There is a big difference between mild hunger and fatigue and overwhelming fatigue, dizziness, nausea, exhaustion. Pushing through this kind of intense irritability or uncomfortableness isn't brave, it's actually unsustainable. And it can lead to disruptions in your body's natural rhythm, including hormones. As we age, and I know we're still very young, our bodies need a little bit more grace. And let's face it, we can be the harshest, meanest mean girls of anyone when it comes to our own self-critique. You're doing yourself no favours if you're holding on by your fingernails just to keep the fast going and you feel unwell and sick. The body does actually tell you what you need if you're prepared to listen to it. It also takes a little bit of practice. Fasting has definitely taught me how to read what my body is needing and to understand a little bit more some of the signals that it actually gives me, which is a major win. For most of my adult life, I have pushed my body like it's just a thing that needs to look thinner, younger, tanner, more attractive, and I've punished it every single day. I feel sore from the gym. Oh, just stop being so lazy. Get up. You need to keep moving. Seriously, my body has taken a hiding. Fasting has opened my mind to be a little bit more attuned and kind to my body. Part of it, I honestly think, is because I'm not using food to squash down all of those feelings that I might have. If I'm fasting at night, I'm now looking at things that I can do to distract me that I actually enjoy, rather than just watching TV and eating snacks. And I have to say that letting go of eating at night by incorporating fasts that go through the nighttime period were actually really good for me. It was probably the scariest idea that I had around fasting was, oh no, I'm going to miss eating meals at night, and I love food and I love eating snacks after dinner. That was probably the thing that was the hardest for me to get over. And then I started incorporating the longer fasts, which had to go through dinner time and night time. And I discovered that actually there's a whole lot of extra time that I had at night that I was not utilising. It also meant that when I felt tired and sore from the gym, I'm more kind to my body and I don't push it as hard. Part of this could be I'm not compensating for any bad food choices anymore, because by incorporating fasting regularly, I'm not making so many bad food choices. So yes, bad food choices, even that, negative connotations. But hey, I'm in my 40s, I don't need to sugarcoat it. That was how I was talking to myself. Fasting is making me a nicer person to my body. So the fix, so you aren't ignoring your body's clear stopping signals, try and understand true hunger rather than habit, like I did. I definitely still get hungry. I get hungry at night, and I know that 50% of that is habit. It's understanding it and sitting in it and going, that's okay, I can eat tomorrow. Break your fast if you feel genuinely unwell. It's okay to end a fast early if your body is screaming at you. You can always restart. I've been there. The mindset around stopping early sucks. And the idea that you haven't achieved what you were hoping to. But the way I see it now is that if I keep going when I can tell that my body is really unhappy and becoming unwell, that's going to be far less beneficial than sticking with the fast. sticking with the fast is only going to undo all of those fasting benefits. I'm better off stopping. Prioritize feeling good. If you are consistently feeling awful during your fast, your fasting approach might be too aggressive for your body right now. You might need more hydration, you might need more rest, you might need to eat better food before you fast, and you might just need to have a break from fasting. Also consider your cycle. Hormone fluctuations can really impact how well you can tolerate fasting. Some women find some times of the month are easier to fast than others, and some times of the month are terrible. I talked about this in my last video. It does make a difference. I tried fasting at day 22 of my cycle, and I was like a wild animal. Don't do it. Trust me. So those are the 4 mistakes that I had to conquer to fit fasting into my life successfully. They're easy to make, but they're easy to correct. Be smart about hydration, eat well, start slow, and listen to your body, and you will definitely be setting yourself up for a great fast. Let me know in the comments if any of these mistakes resonate with you, or if there are others that you have discovered when you've been fasting. And thanks very much for watching.